Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Digital Gate Studios production. Jesse, the BT14 March continues.
It does indeed, but with some more non-BT14 cards. We were just kind of talking about it a little bit, and they just keep giving us old pieces or new pieces for old decks.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of the channel, you know this is one I've talked about a million times. You saw the thumbnail when you clicked this, but HexaBlu.
Yeah.
We got some like stuff a couple sets back with like the Snow Agumon and kind of enticing your opponent or punishing them for digivolving on sources that don't, or something with no sources. And so I messed with it a little bit back then, and it just didn't do anything. That's why you guys didn't get a deck profile for it. I'm not going to put anything out that's like not playable. So you just keep paying attention. It's like anything else, you know. It's like if they keep giving you pieces for a deck, eventually it'll be good, as you like to say.
True.
And I really like these new pieces we got in BT14. So let's jump into it.
It gave us a bunch of lower end pieces, but didn't really give us that level 6 impact card to build a deck around.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we've got one old school.
We got an old school one. So let's jump into the new eggs we got. This card is insane. I know we saw a lot of people calling for it to be restricted before it even came out online.
Maniacs.
Wild. Absolutely wild. But very, very good. If you don't know what it does, as long as this Digimon has more sources than all of your opponents, it has jamming. Well, that's really good in this deck because all we do is take those sources away from your opponent.
It also counts if they have no Digimon.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you're first to raise with your rookie, it's like having a jamming Vmon on.
Yeah, they're printing keywords on eggs these days.
Yeah, it's wild. So we're going to jump into rookies. Really basic. We're going old school because all we're doing is stripping sources, so we want all the benefits from that. So we're talking about promo 4 Gomamon. I know you're thinking, why don't you have the gold art? Why don't you have the floral art? I don't really like those arts. But this guy is amazing. When you strip a source, gain a memory. So good, in fact, that they printed it again on a Balukumon. So it's the exact same inheritable, different on play, a little bit more DP. None of that matters. All you want is that inheritable.
We want it in the raising.
Oh my god, it's so good in your stack. You guys will see when we get farther into this video, but you just gain a ton of memory, especially with the new Tamer we got. So you just kind of stack it all. Now this is kind of one that I've gone back and forth on. So I run 11 rookies. I run 4 and 4, and then I run 3 of the new Automamon.
Interesting.
I like the Gomamon.
The SR.
I think that it's good. The inheritable doesn't do a lot, though, when you are level 6. Even though people tend to nuke it, it makes it a little bit sticky. It's kind of good. But you're really trying to build that stack and raising.
Yeah.
This really punishes your opponent if they don't know the right order to swing in, or if they're only swinging with one stack, they lose 2 sources. And we do have a level 4 that does the same thing. So being able to stack that is really good. And here is said level 4. We have the Gekomon. So also, when your opponent swings, trash 2 sources of it. So it is from the bottom, so it still has an effect if they do happen to have that X antibody, or they're still going to lose 1, which could be important. Working your way up to that old Greymon X that gives them all their protection. Really, really good card. Really just makes your opponent think about what they're about to do.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're thinking like the Lugermon decks and like the Shine Gray stuff, like when you swing with those, if you really want to lose that 4 sources underneath, like you're going to lose a lot of really important inheritables, Bloom Lord, all that good stuff.
There's the inheritables have just been getting better and better in these meta decks. And so every one that you lose, like even Searcher rookies have good inheritables these days.
Right.
So stripping those is going to be very impactful.
Moving forward, we have another. So like there's just so many new cards in the bottom of this deck, which just make it so much fun. We have the new Ikakumon. This card is brutal. This card is awesome. This is like, it makes me think back to like old school blue hybrids where you're just locking stuff down all the time. So with all your swings, you're stripping. With all of your, playing bodies and stuff, you're stripping. And so when you swing, you get to lock down a body with less Digivolution sources than yours, which is really important. As if they have, a Quartzmon on board, if you strip 3 sources off of it, all of a sudden you can lock it down. Also, when Digivolving, strip any 2 sources. Really important in the ACE format that we have right now.
Correct. It's targeted source strip. It's not
strip.
From the bottom.
Right. So you'll be able to take out that Magna Ace or that Zudomon Ace or any of those Ace cards.
Activate the overflow.
Yeah, get that memory back. So essentially you net memory from Digivolving. So
well, and the other interesting thing about this card is if they promote early, their they're going to be in big trouble because you can stun that and then bounce it with something else, or you can just lock it down for the entire game, basically.
Yep. So I run 10 level 4s. So we run 2 more, and this is going to be our hybrid for game. Also, if it is your only level 4 in hand, it still fits the theme of the deck. It still strips a source. It still activates your Blukemons. It still activates your Gomamons. It still activates those new Joes. So it still fits the theme of the deck.
We do love Lanamon in this house, but Kumamon makes sense.
Yeah. Had to have a reason to use that artwork. All right, now for another new body on board, we have the Zudomon ACE. This card is crazy. We were just talking. It's like the best removal in blue printed, essentially, for the cost, anyways.
It's like it's not only the counter is strong. I think it is the best Ace card of the level 5s, but it's also like if you can strip 2 with your level 4 Ikakumon and then hard play this for 4. You know what I mean? It still bounces a 6 for essentially 6 memory, but it also has 2 bodies on your board. And
with all the Joes and the Goma and the Bluku, like it's a cheap Evo.
Yeah.
Because it still strips when it Evos.
Correct.
So you get that memory gain back. So it's a crazy card.
Agreed.
And then this one, I kind of went back and forth on this because there is the one that gives you the level 5 that gives you security attack +1.
If they have no sources.
Right. And then there's the Majirmon. I went with Majir. I like this one because we do play Azulong in the deck. Being able to swing multiple checks with jamming.
Multiple checks, multiple security, all jamming, and then unsuspend.
Yeah. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It's a tough choice, though, because you start to get to this top end and you start looking at older cards because the newer top ends aren't there yet.
Correct.
So let's jump into the big boy of the deck. Hexeblaumon, finally a reason to use this campaign rare art. They gave this to us, and we're just like, oh.
It's a beautiful artwork on a card that is not played anymore.
Yeah. So if you don't know what this card does, when attacking, you get to trash Digivolution sources. It gains jamming if they have something with no sources. But the best part about this card is anything with no sources cannot attack or block. This slows down Fenrir. This slows down a lot of Jessamon stuff. It slows down D-Brigade. It slows down all kinds of stuff. It just punishes your opponent, and you just keep taking the sources away from their bodies. So it leaves them really with only the option to kind of get the pieces in their raising and then try and do something, rather than they can't compete on the board while you have this out.
It's going to get stunned. It's going to get stripped. It's going to be horrible for them.
Yeah. And then we do run 2 Azulongs. Really good card, like we talked about. So it gains security attack +1 for every Digimon on their board without sources. So you get really big, you get jamming, you unsuspend. There's a lot of cool things you can do with this card. These are the only level 6s I play in the deck. There is a couple of honorable mentions. The Frost Slugramon from like BT8 is actually pretty good. It strips the top from all your opponent's sources, and it's not bad. It's pretty good. But the real one to look out for in the next EX set is the Dianamon.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it could really replace this Azulong when it comes out.
Yes.
So stay tuned for an update when EX5 comes out.
Yeah.
We do play 1 Death X in the deck just because it's a good card. It's good in this format. A lot of people playing Commandramon, Jessamon.
A lot of wide boards.
A lot of wide boards this format. So,
what does Death X do, Jesse?
Oh, it digivolves the entire board and then kills it.
What a good. That sounds strong.
All right, let's jump into some new Tamers. We have the definition of power creep. We have the new Joe Kiddo. On play, strip a source, suspend. Gain a memory.
It's another one of those 3-cost Tamers they keep printing, like the Keenan and the Louie and stuff, and the TK. Pretty much all of the Tamers in this set are 3-cost Tamers. You're going to activate them most of the time on their on play.
Yeah, my favorite part about this is the targeted source stripping. So it's really good once again for the aces, but also it just synergizes so well with everything in the deck. It pairs really well with the Gomamon and the Blukemon. There's a lot of ways to just gain a ton of memory in this deck for just by doing what the deck does inherently. Also, when it comes out of security, you get to strip a source, so it's kind of nice. It'll really kind of disrupt your opponent's math sometimes if you're able to strip that sec +1 Greymon, or
reboot blocker.
Any of that stuff. Yeah, it's a really cool card. We do run 2 Sora and Joes for the obvious reason we're just stripping sources, gaining memory if they don't have sources. So really good. That one's kind of a gimme, but there's also also kind of a flex spot. If you did want to run like a couple Tommies in there, you could do that as well.
A couple Tommies, because you don't even have to play just the one anymore.
Yep. So, shout out to Tommy, honorable mention.
Of course.
And then I can't get away from playing Davis and blue decks. It's such a good card. You know, it's your setter, it's your searcher. It's just a classic. If you're playing a classic deck, play this. You know, it's good. And then, of course, this is what the deck really needed. We needed the new pieces at the bottom, but the thing HexaBlu really needed was training cards.
Yeah.
It really needs monocolor deck. Really needs
Lots
to
of
build.
Tamers.
If you're gonna try and surprise your opponent, you want to do it all in 1 or 2 turns. You don't want to just build something in the raising and then know what's going to happen.
Right.
You play your trainings, you kind of play coy, you keep your pieces in your hand, and then you build into the HexaBlu or the Zudomon
from a rookie
for very cheap, and then you just go.
Yeah.
So you can definitely try and fit in some blue memory boosts and that kind of thing too if you want to, because this deck is monocolor. Maybe take out the Sora and Joes and run two blue memory boosts if you want to. It's totally fine. Yeah, really strong. And then finally I get to use this card because we've been talking about blue removal. And this card...
I just remembered what it is.
It's so cheap. And because, like, what do you not want to do with that Death X? You don't want to return it to hand, right? Because they're just going to use it again. You don't want to return a lot of level 7s to hand, especially like Quartzmon and stuff like that, because they can just put it on a level 3 with save or whatever.
Yeah.
So we run 2 Absolute Blast. This card I messed with in my old HexaBlu list, and I actually really liked it in that list. It trashes a source and then bottom decks something with no sources. So it's kind of your end game, like after you're done doing your source stripping with all of these pieces, if you need to remove a body, remove a body. So it's actually pretty good, and it pairs really well. Since it strips a source, it procs for cheaper because your Joes will trigger, your Gomamons will trigger, and your Blukamons will trigger. So really good. Actually works out pretty well. Does the same thing out of security too. It's not just an add to hand. It's a throwback, but it's probably the cheapest bottom deck you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Especially in this format.
Yeah, the only one cheaper is Grandel Soul, but it's conditional on 2 suspended Digimon.
Yeah. And then 1 Ice Wall to round it out.
I love it.
I've taken my licks for not running Ice Wall, and it actually works really well in this deck. So that's it, guys. This deck is super fun to play.
Do not sleep on blue source strip this format, guys.
Yeah,
it is super strong.
So check it out, guys. If you like it, like, comment, subscribe, and check out the channel for some more. We got a great podcast every Friday, 8 a.m. 2 Tamers Talk. And yeah, stay tuned to the channel. We'll have more great BT14 goodness coming your way. We'll see you next time.